Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. We are back again with you guys for another episode of our tactical breakdown series, the show in which we look at the players that Arsenal could, should, maybe, and fingers crossed will sign this summer. I mean, we're saying fingers crossed because every single day we go by without seeing a proper major signing made by the Gunners is ever more so frustrating, and that has obviously led to what has occurred today in the social media world, which is obviously the hashtag #WeCareDoYou, which is a movement by plenty of very large Arsenal social media accounts and movements and collectives which have signed this hashtag #WeCareDoYou movement and written a very well written and thought out message to the owner Stan Kroenke, not in a Kroenke out sort of way, but more in a Kroenke let's change our ways, let's see if we can get the club moving in a more positive direction and run a lot better than it currently is, because there's a lot of things that fans aren't too happy about, and that obviously boils down to a lot of what's going on this summer, seeing our rivals invest in players like Spurs and Ndombele being brought in, United being linked with huge moves for Manchester United targets like Milinkovic-Savic for instance, whereas Arsenal are really struggling to get their money down when we actually should be competing with the likes of Tottenham for these players. And now we're seeing those lot from down the road basically come along and hijack some of our deals, which is maddening to think about when we were in the Champions League for so long and they've only just basically got into regular Champions League football. Where has this money gone? Why has it been spent so poorly? And that has led to obviously what's been going on in the social media and the hashtag #WeCareDoYou. So if you want to sign the petition, which has got now, I believe, over 30,000 signatures on it, please do click the link in the description to the video and you can go check that out. But you're here to get the latest on Arsenal's link to the Brazilian winger Everton. And you're going to get that. But before we go in, before we do, should I say, please leave the video a like. Please subscribe if you're new with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. And you click that little bell if you want to do that. Basically, your phone gets notified every single time that we upload. And please leave a comment in the comment section below as well. The comments, as always, have been great. It's amazing that we're nearly getting to 12,000 subscribers, and a lot of your positivity has helped with that. So thank you and keep it up. But let's get straight into what we're going to talk about, which is Everton of Gremio. Now, Arsenal have been linked with countless amounts of wingers over the last few weeks or so, the likes of Malcolm, Wilfried Zaha, Claude Maurice at Lorient. And so the amount of wingers is clear to see that Arsenal want one. Brahimi, Ryan Fraser, the list goes on with the amount of players that we've been linked to in these wide positions. And so maybe it's finally time that there's a little bit of credence and a little bit of excitement around a player that is very, very exciting and at a reasonable price. Arsenal being linked with a £35 million move for the Gremio winger Everton after off the back of a really, really good performance at the Copa America, in which he won the Golden Boot with 3 goals. Not a mad amount of goals, but in a competition like that, getting those and getting that accolade is nothing to be sniffed at. And I think that he's certainly someone that would light up the Arsenal side. We need a little bit of Brazilian flair, I think, in that forward line, and he has all the attributes to be able to bring Arsenal that. And we're going to get into some of the statistics and of course his heat maps and everything else, and some of the graphics too, that will tell you all about Everton and what he's about. So let's get straight into it and look at the heat map first of all. Now, the obvious comparison to do that is, of course, with Wilfried Zaha. We've looked at a few players that we've been linked to, because Arsenal don't really have a natural winger at the club, just besides obviously Alex Iwobi, who's played there, but I see him being played more centrally this season. And of course then there's Reiss Nelson, but he's just at a different stage of his career than the likes of the players that we've been linked to. So Wilfried Zaha being the person that we've put an official bid of £40 million, which obviously got rejected, I think is obviously the most coherent person and sensible person to compare Everton to. So if you look at the two heat maps on your screen, you can see there that Zaha definitely is more intense further up the field. He definitely likes to run to the byline and make a play, be it a cross, be it a pass, or actually trying to take the ball inside. Whereas Everton's a little bit more reserved in that sense. He doesn't go as close to the byline, but he's still very intense in that area. A lot of movement. His style is to cut inside, and that has led him to get quite a few goals this season in 2019, scoring 14 goals across the season in all the cup competitions and for his international team and for his club. And he does that a lot by the time by cutting inside and finding the space, using his dribbling skills. You can see from the graphics on your screen now the amount of times he does. He did it for Brazil in their group stage matches, and he did it several times to show that he has a lot of that skill to be able to cut inside, take on players and finesse that ball into the right-hand corner. And he does it to great effect, and it's something that Arsenal do need. I know it's something that we criticise a lot for being too predictable, and that's why he does switch up the way that he scores his goals. He can actually come in from the right-hand side, sorry. He can use his left foot, usually, as you can see from the guy in front of you now, and he can use his head. He's not bad in the air. You can see that with the goal that he scored here. With a nice flick on into the bottom left-hand corner. He can do that with absolutely no problem. And so he's got a big variety, but still a clear playing style that Arsenal could utilise to their absolute benefit. We've desperately needed ourselves to be playing more of a 4-3-3, and with him playing sort of on the left-hand side, Aubameyang on the right and Lacazette in the middle, you've got a really exciting front line that you can experiment with, change, swap up, rotate, bring in the likes of Nelson into that right wing spot and ease him into the team at the same time, maybe pushing Aubameyang centrally and giving Lacazette a break. You've got plenty of options just by signing one winger. It's really important to know the depth that we need in this Arsenal side, and Everton's variety and skill and dynamism is definitely something that we could equip to our side. So let's get into some of the stats and break them down. So in terms of the attacking stats, as you can see on your screen now, in comparison to Zaha, his shots are a really key aspect of his game. He's more shots than Zaha across the season in 2019. He's more shots per match in 2019 than Zaha across the last season, and his accuracy of his shots are much higher as well, 15% around that figure. In terms of more accurate than what Zaha is with his shot. So he's not a player that just dribbles with no end product. He certainly has that, and you'll see that even more when we go on to some of the passing stats. But continuing on, shot assists are won by the Ivorian, as are his dribbles in terms of their frequency and the accurate or the success rate of those dribbles, 26% higher for Wilfried Zaha. And we know that he's a more accomplished winger, but he is older and he is accomplished in his skill. And Everton can definitely improve on what he's done already. And you know that these Brazilians like to be very technical players, learning their skills on the streets. And so that I can believe that he will definitely improve going forward and improve the success of his dribbling in the Premier League. Offensive duels are a similar story. Zaha takes both those in frequency and accuracy, and obviously those through balls to the box as well. As we'll talk about, his passing will come into that. But in terms of progressive runs, actually Everton takes that stat, making more progressive runs, trying to be found a lot more than what Zaha is in his game so far he's played. And I think that definitely works well for Arsenal. We need someone who's going to get in behind if the likes of Iwobi or Ozil are playing in that number 10 slot next season, trying to see someone to fit in basically their runs between the lines and making space and trying to call for the ball. We need someone like that, and Everton certainly provides that. Moving then on to his passes, in terms of his passing stats, this is where the Brazilian really comes to life, because his passing accuracy and frequency is higher than that of Zaha's. So is his long passing. He likes to find the ball in between the spaces, both a lofted pass or a long through ball, which is great. His through passes, though, ironically, are beaten by the Ivorian in their frequency and accuracy, as are his crosses. He's not really a player known for too many of his crosses per each of those matches, but his passes into the final third are very impressive in both his frequency and accuracy, beating Zaha. Something that you find in passing into the final third, trying to find teammates. He did it for Brazil a lot in their latest Copa America bout, and he did that to great effect. Passes to the box, though, Zaha takes those in both frequency and accuracy, but the passes received are actually higher in the Brazilian's favour. He is looked upon very confidently by his Brazilian teammates and his teammates at Gremio as someone that they can trust with the ball, and they find him on a very regular occasion. In terms of the forward and backward pass ratio, Zaha is equal in that, just over 6 forward passes and backward passes per match, but Everton slightly more backward passes than forward. Not so much so that you need to read too much into it, but it's certainly something playing at Arsenal that he would need to improve in terms of making sure he's being more offensive and more progressive in terms of his passing, to making sure they're going forwards more. I just think overall that Everton's a player that Arsenal could sign for a relatively cheap fee. You look at these players coming over from Brazil. I remember back in the day when we got linked to the likes of Bernard before he went off to Shakhtar Donetsk. Maybe this time we actually pounced on one of these players. We've already pounced on one in Gabriele Martinelli, a really exciting talent. But I like Everton, the fact that he can play on that left wing, but has shown that he can come in from the right-hand side. So it doesn't necessarily shackle him to that position. And I think with Martinelli, who's, if you were going to watch yesterday's video that we did with the interview of Tim and Dylan of Venice Beach FC, you saw that their little exclusive inside scoop from Chambers, they reckon, or rather Chambers reckons, that Martinelli is going to get a fair amount of game time this season. And so therefore, if you could bring someone like Everton in, you've got a lot of skillful technical players suddenly playing on the wing. You're giving yourselves a lot more depth, and it's certainly something that I think Arsenal could benefit from. But that's just my thoughts on the player. Do you think Everton's someone that Arsenal should pounce for? Is £35 million too much, or do you think it's a bit of a bargain? Please let me know in the comments section below. I'm very grateful for the comments that you throw in every single day. And keep subscribing. Of course, we're so close to 12,000 now. It's getting ever so much closer. Thank you ever so much for the continued support. Leave those comments, leave a like, leave a subscription. We'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.